So we already have one question on that, and if you could also, when you're answering that, talk a little bit about the craft village, because the structure in place. Yes, yeah, please.
It's very interesting. We have been working on a similar modeling in this country. We have been working for last 20 years in varieties of waste components, right? Especially the biomedical waste and all that 6 waste rules which we have drafted in March, April 2016 after Swachh Bharat missions coming. Addressing this problem, there is a huge gap between the implementation and the policy advocacy, but we have succeeded to very large extent in last 3 years in this country. It will be very good for the Vietnam, and I think we have to talk to some people in Vietnam to implement the similar kind of systems. I think a very representation to one of the big policy, one of the ministers there. Now the thing is, first thing comes the integrated waste rules, a system for the whole country to adopt. One. Second, we have put up there that source segregation is essence of in rules and in common sense. Any waste which goes out of the house which is mixed cannot be separated by any of the technological means. We have applied robotics, infrared, X-rays, whatever name it. The reason is not the organic waste. It is not the recyclable waste. It is non-commercial recyclable waste which is not picked up by the community which recycles the waste. Right? So you segregate in your house, give it to the waste collector. If it is a newspaper wala, he will take whatever valuable, non-valuable he will throw. Right? This thing will be thrown if it is 1. If it is 20, it will be collected. So, there is 1 toothbrush, it will be thrown. It will be 20 toothbrush, it will be 30 rupees a kg. So that is the economy, that is the circular economy we talk about. Non-commercial recyclable waste contains multi-layer plastics, uncle chips and those multi-layer plastics which you know all, silver and things like, primarily used for the food packaging, and second is a thin layer plastic films, because that is what is not picked up, besides small bits and pieces of the plastic which just keep lying. It is not commercial to. So non-commercial recyclable waste is a primary responsibility of the state to handle separately. If we take out from home the organic waste in the pure form, because it comes from the life forms, and give it back to the life of the nature, the remaining non-commercial the recyclable waste goes back to the recycling channel as a reverse supply chain network, as a reverse retail to the factories. What remains is a non-commercial recyclable waste which need to be separated right at the time of the production in the home, in the kitchen and the bathroom, and given back to the state recycling units, where we need to invest money to recycle that by making lumber, by making roads, by making diesel, whatever, or burn it in the waste to energy. But let not it go back to the nature. One. Third point is, in this whole scenario of non-commercial recyclable dry waste and wet waste, the third component remains is a household hazardous waste, in which we primarily categorize sanitary waste, battery waste. Battery waste makes whole of the compost useless. Heavy metals in the compost is harmful to the nature, to the farmlands. Similarly, sanitary napkins becomes a big problem for the sorting, whether it is organic waste or this thing. So for that, like with my friend in a couple of the cities where in Indian this thing we are practicing, we are distributing yellow bags with a self-sealing, and like in the developed nations and many places like Norway and Hanoi, Norway and I would say in Seoul, the brand owners gives the yellow bag separately, because in biomedical waste segregation strategy, yellow bag is considered to be burnt in the incinerator, right, or waste to energy. So yellow bag, right, in the cities where distributed, the woman has thanked us in a very big way.
So one of the questions that you
let me complete in a minute more. Yes. So, based on this segregation strategy with this modeling, we have worked out varieties of models implementing in varieties of places, and successfully in this country, the last World Environment Day was meant for source segregation strategy. Okay? And plastic being soul of every other waste management rule and soul of the waste management problems has been considered to the plastic pollution has been considered to be the biggest hazard, for which this World Environment Day is fully dedicated for the plastic pollution, where the Prime Minister is going to speak about this thing. I am the singular person who is working with the plastic waste management since 2011 and singly listed out as a plastic waste management expert in the Swachh Bharat mission, with the responsibility of spreading it to the 500 cities. Now, that has been my job, and that's what I have pointed it out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, just a second. Let's first get the
Yes.
questions through, and then we can try and, I'm sure there'll be statements of this variety, and our visitors can respond about whether or not any similar initiatives happen in Vietnam, etc. Right? So if you have a question, please go ahead.
Sir, I'm the plastic dealer in Delhi
Sure.
Tikri Bazaar.
Yes.
So I want to tell to sir that he's saying Swachh Bharat, but exactly nothing has been done in 3 years. We are the plastic waste dealer in Tikri Kala, and I don't think so anything has been done.
Sure.
in the plastic.
Fine. Between you and me.
No, sir, it is not between, but some.
We'll take that offline.
So, we would like to ask you that there are variety of other waste, as we have been telling, that you have not talked about the plastic as people are talking, and then the other material which are like disposable, clothes and other garments which we wear, and plastic, whatever is there. And there are a lot of household, we call it white appliances, and something like computer, mobile. So these are new ventures of waste, which are also too much. And then tin is there, tin metal. So is there any arrangement for various category of waste? Because plastic has to go into various forms. So that's a big subject. So for these, what are your subjects?
Do you want to take about the three questions here? So why don't you just address the first question that Nicola was, and the second one about the other varieties of waste. Yeah, right. And third, if there is any kind of issue that in terms of household biomedical waste, etc., that they're talking about, is there something happening in Vietnam? There's nothing, that's fine, right? So why don't we take these three questions, and then we'll come back to the next round of questions. The first question was essentially if perhaps you could talk a little bit about the channel through which this reduction in carbon happens, because we're trying to understand how is it that the recycling by the Dongnath helps to reduce the carbon emission reductions. So that's the just the channel. I mean, it's not important. The numbers are not important. Just the channel is important.
Yeah. Actually, in this preliminary study, so not really estimate based on the informal collection from Dongnath, just the organic part. Yeah, if we can like less organic, yeah, the organic waste will be less. So I mean the. Can be used like the compost or to use to another purpose before dumping to the landfill. So we estimate the carbon, the CO2 emission, the GHG emission based on that the composition. Yeah.
Organic waste.
Yeah, the organic waste.
So
Yeah.
food waste and things like that, which is usually fed to animals and
right. Or the composting.
or composted
yes.
kind of
Yeah.
process. So diversion of that is okay.
Yes.
But not the plastic, metal, and
not
yet.
Yeah, not. And also some part of the landfill. I mean the collection of the methanes from the landfill.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that is the number come from.
That's where the
Yeah.
number comes from.
This is only the first idea to work together to discover the competence of each field, so that we have the idea. It is how to we use the tool of the engineering field to measure to use to analyze our database of donut, so that we are now completing the database, the data of the buy, to know about the quantity of waste collection of the donut. So we have already the data of quantity come from the 800 waste depot by, but that is not enough. So we are now doing the new survey about the recycle village to identify about the quantity come from the system of donut which sell for this system, and so that we think we continue to test with the modeling of this engineering system to find out the result, so that it is something that we are now doing. We are now working about this. Yeah. So we have not a real result concrete now. Yeah. For the second question, maybe would you like to? The other material.
Yes. For other materials, perhaps I can start with household hazardous waste. Well, in Vietnam, it goes in the same basket with other wastes, and there is no sorting. And during the last few years, there is associations, NGOs, small programs that tries to collect that, but it is still unusual for Vietnamese people. And the problem is the same for other wastes. It is that we don't yet have the link between environmental issues and waste issues. Here, the recycling process is made because people knock at your door and ask to buy. So you will recycle because you will get money from it. But if you don't get money from it, nobody will do it. In other countries, we try to link environmental issues with waste, to try to explain to people that by the way you are, the way you use products, the way you react daily, it changes something in the environment. You throw something, it goes in the environment. It does not disappear, and this link needs to be done. So for the hazardous waste, it is not well explained yet, so people don't know. It is not natural. For clothing, well, there is no recycling process either. Usually there is organizations or associations who pick the clothes and take to another provinces, but that's all. And for the medical waste, well, usually we throw it in the same bin. And so for the medical hazardous waste, sometimes it is sorted just when they take outside of the hospital and they take it to the landfill, then they rate it, but as medical waste. But that's all, so there is no separation. Concerning plastic, well, in the process of Dongnat, we presented a lot of plastic is recycled, except for single-use plastic bags and plastic films. The Dongnat doesn't want that, and we will never be able to sell that. And that links to my first point. For the local authorities, we work with the local authorities, and in Vietnam we focus a lot on treatment, on collecting, on transport, on the technology. But we must focus on the first point, which is reduction. And waste reduction is the first thing to do. We don't think about technology at first. we think about how to reduce it. And this point is interesting because for plastic, if Dongnat doesn't want single-use plastic, I mean, by informing the people that using it might put in danger the environment, is do not affect the Dongnat circuit and the recycling circuit. I mean, it's something that can be coordinated. I mean, the Dongnat circuit and the official circuits. If the government is willing to explain to people, to give information to the people, and tell them that for the future it would be better if you use not single plastic but fabric or long-term use. So I think there's things that goes together, and we cannot do this without the other part.
I have, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for your presentation. I want to know more about the who question of the Dongnats. I mean, who are these Dongnats? Because when we talk about our Indian context, it's not just the class question, but also the caste question, which determines that who will become a waste worker or rag picker. So I want to know that who are these Dongnats and what leads them to become a Dongnat. So apart from that, I want to know what is the social condition of these Dongnats in the study sites, and like you have mentioned that they primarily face the nature of their segregation is primarily spatial, like they are relegated to the margin. So I want to know whether this segregation also involves any kind of social segregation also, like we witness in our Indian context. Thank you.
uh, Extending this question, how about the health hazards that some of these workers might be facing? Are there any? And another is that how about segregation? What we have felt in segregation or recycling. Apart from social exclusion, how much are they educated about it, or how much new knowledge is it by hit and trial they are learning, or is it that they do have some expert coming into it? Because most of the time we do face this challenge that the recycling is not proper. And third is methodology, if you can, that how long did you spend time with them, what was your data collection, and how did you go about it in the sense that how long it was and what was your main methodology. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for an insightful presentation on the topic. So you mentioned on a number of occasions that solid waste is really an issue in the city and is an increasingly serious issue in the city. Because you said that up to 8% of more waste is produced each year. So that's in fact extremely serious. So I would like to put the action of Dongnats into perspective a little bit, and I have three kind of points that maybe you could shed some light on. So one is, what is the percentage of the waste volume covered by Dongnats out of the total waste produced by the city? The second one is related to the municipal waste management system. Since these statistics are there, I'm sure municipal officials are aware of the problem. Are they taking any actions to propagate waste segregation at source, for example, more recycling from the municipal side? What are they doing in this respect? And the third point, you also mentioned, and I think that's very important, that while before kind of one-time use plastic was not that much spread in the city, but now people tend to use these kind of straw, glasses, plates, and all these items, right? So in this respect, I would like to know whether there is any policy, be it at the city level or maybe at the national level, on how to reduce the waste. Because one is maybe segregated source, recycle as much as possible, so that as less as possible reaches the landfill. And another approach is to reduce the waste volume as well. For example, in some countries such as Cambodia, in certain cities, they're propagating now for one-time use plates, banana leaves or lotus leaves or something that is organic and can be can just dissolve in nature. So such kind of policies, are they thought of in Vietnam at all?
social story, and then there is.
First of all, about the question, who are these the donut? So that about our research, we found that donut it is a job, a traditional job, exists from more than 100 years in a village next to Hanoi, in which name is Nom, and in a province in the east of Hanoi, and this is a temporary job because once upon a time, between the different season of rice field, so that people feel free, so they come all around their village, and they collect first of all by the meter. They started by meter, because next to not far from this village, there is a craft village who specialized in metal, so that these people come over there and buy and collect all the waste, metal waste, and then they resell this. So this become a job, a traditional job of this village, and then all over the time is small and small. It continue and develop, and now the system of donut, they buy everything, and the donut village that we can find in some province next to Hanoi, like Nam Định, where the most of donut come from. And about our research and our interview and our survey, until now we know that this job developed by a social network and social and familiar network. For example, someone in the village that do this work, and other one would like to do the same work to Hanoi, come from this person and ask to explain how to do, and this person bring him to Hanoi, and then explain, you must start here, you can buy here, and you work over here, and they know each other, and we can now. It seems that all the not all, but a big part of the nut come from Nam Dinh, know each other. So, for example, when they talk to us, they know other waste depot, other buy, and they know what is the material specialized by the other buy. For example, after 10 years, I have experience in electricity equipment like washing machine, like micro, so that I concentrate only in this project, and I specialize. And I have my cousin or someone come from the same village with me from Nam Dinh, who specialize in metal or in paper. But in the January, almost the buy collect the three main material, so that paper, metal, and plastic. And sometimes depend on the competence and the experience of the waste of the junk buyer, so they develop a specialized product or material. And
one of the issues is one of social segregation. So, for example, is it difficult for so donut is usually woman, you said, right?
Yeah.
Is it difficult for them to find a husband, things like that? Will a Hanoi person open a buy if he has a space? Let's say I have an empty garage. Will I start? I may not succeed because it looks to be quite a information-rich place. But are there issues of that sort, or because it's one village or a group of villages, all the social stuff is between them?
I know. For about the preliminary result of our survey, almost the donors are young group and young couple. Sometimes almost case come from the same village, and they know each other. And the donut who walk around always be the woman who has married. So she has her own family in the village, and she come to Hanoi only several months in the year, or she can stay in Hanoi and they come back her countryside only 3-4 times per year. Each time when they have something in the house, and they left the children for the grandparents. Yeah. So in a lot of cases, the donut are the women like this, already married, know each other, and so always they regroup, they live together with some other donut that knows each other. Yeah. And about the housing.
I would just add a little thing about the donut. We cannot say that there is a social segregation. We imagine it more like a work, and as I said, the professionals they earn enough to live. I mean, the salary of a donut can be from $30 a month to $1,000 a month, because the professionals donut they know very well what kind of material they need to pick up. They know what is the value of this material at the market, and they will have information through the network. They will have the information at the intermediate collection point. They will know next week what is the price of cardbox, glass, everything. So they can earn enough money after to buy their own business. Concerning the methodology, what we try to do is qualitative and quantitative interviews. Concerning the qualitative interview, we made about 50 interviews of a person from the government, the ministry. We also interviewed the person from the Hanoi People Committee, from the different departments, the Department of Construction, Department of Environmental and National Resources. We also interviewed the person from the state-owned companies working on waste, and of course other professionals and donut, food recyclers, and people in the Bai. And Huyen worked with at least 300 students to make a quantitative survey and to make the map she showed you. Concerning the estimation for the percentage of waste covered by the donut, when we asked the public authorities, they made an estimation of 20% of waste treated by the donut. Concerning the question of the actions to propagate segregation at source, is there a public action? Well, the answer is no. The segregation is made, as I told you, just because the donuts knock at your door, ask for waste, and they will pay you for that. So when in Vietnam there is a planning, well, there is a planning for everything in Vietnam. But concerning the planning for environmental issues, at first the question of plastic reduction was in the planning. But now they are doing another planning, and perhaps there is a lot of chance that the question of plastic will not be in the planning. Reduction of plastic will not be in the planning. And when we asked, they answered that because before, with the old planning, we did not succeed in doing that. So to get things easy, we won't put it in the next planning. And the problem is that when we ask the local authorities, do you give information, or what is the policy to reduce waste? The answer is that is very simple. They said that people act badly. So that is the answer. So our question is, yes, did you inform them of the way to act? And they said yes. We informed them. We informed them that you put the waste from 6 to 7 in front of your house. So this is the only kind of information people get in the waste management. And well, despite of that, it is an official number that Vietnam is the 5th country in the world that dumps the most of the plastic. And I think that this kind of information needs to be publicly given to people. And in the international organization, in the embassy, in the Vietnamese organization, everybody knows this number. Everybody knows that if you eat 4 fish, there is 1 fish, there is plastic inside in Vietnam. So, I mean, this kind of information needs to be explained to the population. But after, when we come back from the interview, we think and we think that, okay, but at first we must convince not only the people, but also the people from the local authorities. They are not convinced of that yet. So this is the point. So of course, there is sensibilization, but we are not at that stage yet. We need first to give information.
There's also a question on the health of the Dong Nats. Is there? Do we have any information on that? And are they trained in hazards handling? Do they?
Actually, no. Similar. Yeah. Because this work is not recognized.
They're dealing with inadequate non-organic waste, paper, plastic, and appliances, old appliances.
And they know what to buy, so
it's like a corridor.
it's like there is information on the people on the landfill. So the people on the landfill, they face medical issues, but there is no information on that. The only information we have concerns the official workers
On the landfill. And of course, we don't have numbers, but through the interview, we know that there is a lot of problem, and that when during the interview they said that every once a year there is a medical case, and it's because they don't. It's long problems. But yes, we don't have official report on the Dong Nat population. So not from the unofficial, yes.
You got a question, okay? And the gentleman from the plastics dealer, I think. Do you have a question?
No, sir, I don't have any question.
Sure.
I was just saying to sir that he's saying that for the last 3 years there is a Swachh Bharat something has gone. So I am asking that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm asking what exactly has gone into Swachh Bharat, because if there is Swachh Bharat, I don't know, it was 18% GST earlier to us, and after that 5% GST when we fight to them that we are doing a recycling.
You don't have to answer that, right? Yeah.
We are doing basically a recycling thing. I don't know exactly the...
so there's a tax story.
Tax structure, that is different thing. But I think government doesn't know what exactly is going to the recycling industry, a plastic industry is going. I don't know what Swachh Bharat thing is also. I'm not pointing out a Swachh Bharat thing, but exactly I am saying we are the concerned person.
So it's a broader issue is how much does the government actually know about the plastic industry?
They doesn't know exactly what exactly going on, because we don't have any proper amenities, infrastructures, so that we can do a better thing to, and it's a environment friendly from my point of view.
Sure. Yeah, you had a question.
Okay. So I wanted to ask that are there any safety mandates which have been laid down by the government at the dismantling centers, like those buys? And the other one being, what is that percentage of women who are working as Dong Nats, and do they face any discrimination with their male counterparts as such? And are they being considered inferior or something?
So, you want to... Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll just have the final question and then close the workshop. Yeah, go ahead.
My question is that do you have a bigger paper mills? Because paper is under 3 classification. Do you have a bigger recycling plastic industry? Bigger means, you recycle it, then the first hand plastic is converted into second hand, and that is used for a smaller, means a lighter weight plastic products. So do you have those bigger recycling plants in Vietnam? And then the metallurgy. So do you have plants where you have big factories where metal can go, and they can be, one is metal is produced from the ore, and the second one is produced from the scrap. So do you have those industries, these 3 type of industries?
So, final questions, Vivian. One is the issue of whether or not is there a taxation regime, and how does the government sort of look at the industry? Do they treat recycling as an industry to begin with? The second is the question of safety mandates. And the third is also related to the first question about, is there an industry at all in this particular story? Are there, like your crafts villages, is that the only kind of recycling industry do you have, or do you have other kinds of larger industries?
So, first of all, about the question of the tax, government tax about this transaction. Unfortunately, actually, all this activity, recycle activity, is in the informal field. So that government have not regulation yet, not yet. So we don't have tax about this, and all three main kind of material recycled. So that paper, metal, and plastic. Now they work high behind the craft village. For example, the paper now is the paper recycle now is developed in the traditional craft village, specialized in paper. But only 3 company of traditional paper rest, and the other is now recycling paper to produce another kind of paper. And but they continue the traditional production of paper, so that they can apparently they can install in the scrap village. The same with the meter, because there was the scrap village specialized in the metal products, especially in bronze products, so that they develop next to and in the area of the craft village of meter, another kind of recycle meter. And actually, in Vietnam, we don't have the government doesn't have the recycling by the government, not yet. So all the recycle activity now done by the informal sector, private sector. So that we don't have anything about the decision or something to define the rule in this activity. And about the percentage of the women and men to do this work, actually, the donut we have recently. We have the men who begin to work in this kind of, but the men always buy only the electronic heavy thing, like electronic, like mobile phone, like computer. The woman don't buy it because she doesn't know, she don't know about this. But the men always, and we can distinguish about the 2 kinds because they have the song different. The donut, they have the song close so that people can recognize someone to walk around the culture. And between the man and the woman, the song is different, so that we can understand about the produce we will buy. Yeah. Yeah. And actually, it is very difficult to have the number exact about the percentage of women and men, but it's much more women than men, mostly by women. But in the buy, always a couple. Yeah, always a couple. Rarely we find only one. No, always a couple and a family. Sometimes they bring all the children with them. But the donut always only one, only a woman who left the family in the countryside. Yeah, village woman. Yeah. But the owner of buy always the ancient donut, but installed now in the city and live over there. Yeah. So I think that I have already answered all the questions.
So thank you so much. It's been a long day, and you've had I'm sorry for all the trouble at the beginning because we had quite a complicated start. So thank you for bearing with us, and it's fascinating, and I can see lots of questions going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.